Feriados Nacionales Ecuadorianos, or Ecuador's national holidays. I mentioned not traveling during them in my 22 tips video, but I didn't mention exactly when and what they were. The reason for that is that they hadn't been announced yet. Strange thing, right? You would assume they happen at the same time each year, but there's a bit of a twist in logic to that here in Ecuador, which we'll get to later on. But for now, let's talk about the 10 official feriados nacionales, when they are, and a brief description of each. The first feriado to start off the year is Año Nuevo, which of course is New Year's, which was on Sunday, January 1st, but it was moved to Monday, January 2nd. Since we know what New Year's is, I hope, the one thing I will highlight is that one of the main traditions here in Ecuador for New Year's is burning the Año Viejo. The Año Viejo is a paper mache figure that represents the year that passed, and burning it is like wishing that the next year will be much, much better. There are quite a few other New Year's traditions, and if you want to know what they are, I actually made a video about them, and I'll leave a link to that video in the description below. Moving on to the second feriado, we have the much anticipated Carnaval, which is on Monday the 20th and Tuesday the 21st of February. Carnival in Ecuador celebrates excess and abundance before Catholic Lent introduces sobriety and prudence. But not a lot of people think too much about that. The majority enjoy it as a long weekend where you go to the beach, spray foam on others, and just have a ton of fun. The third feriado nacional that Ecuador has is Viernes Santo, or Good Friday, which is celebrated on Friday, April 7th. This day is one of the 6 days known as La Semana Santa, or the Holy Week, if you translate it directly. Viernes Santo specifically marks the day of the death of Jesus Christ, and as such, a procession is generally held by churches. Next, we have the fourth feriado, which is Día del Trabajador, or Labor Day, which is on Monday, May 1st. Similar to the rest of the world, it is the international celebration of the social and economic achievements of workers. The fifth feriado nacional that Ecuador has is La Batalla de Pichincha, or the Battle of Pichincha, which is moved from Wednesday, May 24th to Friday, May 26th. This is a day that every proud Ecuadorian celebrates, since it's the day that a famous victory put an end to the Spanish occupation of Quito and marked the turning point in the independence of Ecuador. Next, we have the sixth feriado, which is the Primer Grito de Independencia, which if translated is the first shout of independence. But it's actually Ecuador's Independence Day. Yay Ecuador! Which is moved from Thursday, August 10th to Friday, August 11th. El Primer Grito de Independencia marks Quito's declaration of independence from Spain in 1809. Go Quito! Ecuador's seventh feriado is La Independencia de Guayaquil, which is Guayaquil's Independence Day, which is on Monday, October 9th. As the name suggests, it's the day that Guayaquil became independent from Spanish rule in 1820. The eighth feriado Ecuador has is El Día de Difuntos, which is All Souls Day, which is on Thursday, November 2nd. It is a day of prayer and remembrance for the faithful departed, and on that day, most people go to the cemetery to offer flowers and food to the deceased. Ecuador's ninth feriado is La Independencia de Cuenca, or Cuenca's Independence Day, which is on Friday, November 3rd. It commemorates the day the city of Cuenca declared its independence in 1820. And last but not least, the 10th feriado nacional in Ecuador is Navidad. In other words, Christmas, which is on Monday, December 25th. As you would expect, it's celebrated similarly to everywhere else in the world, but there is a little bit more of an emphasis on religion in most households. If you'd like to know more about how it's celebrated, I made a video about the topic, which I'll leave in the description of this video. But now that we have all the feriados, did you notice that there were 3 that had their dates changed? This goes back to the twist that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. Let me explain. For the most part, when a feriado lands on a weekend or on an awkward part of the week, it'll be moved to the very beginning of the week or the very end of the week in order to extend the weekend. That's why even if you know the exact date of the holiday, you have to wait for the government to decide where they're gonna stick the day off. But once you do know, it's easier to plan ahead and organize when exactly you want your trip to be, since you definitely want to avoid coming on national holidays. Like I said in my tips video, it can definitely be a mess if you try to come during that time. And if you want to know the other extremely valuable tips that not only I, but people from Ecuador and who have visited Ecuador give, then definitely check out this video next. Ace out. The same time, wait a second. Twist in logic. Twist. Why does it cost me to say twist in logic?
Sorry.
Thank you. El primer grito de...